And I got forced into working for them from the age of 10.
Wow.
And I didn't realize at the time. I mean, I knew it was wrong. I was upset. I cried. I tried to run away from home at 13 or 14. But yeah, basically that was child labor, forcing a young kid to work. I mean, I was determined to not have my parents predict my future and be correct, because they said, oh God, you're a single mom. Now you're going to be doing nothing. You know, you're going to just some government money and be this like lazy single mom. But I proved them wrong. And from that day onwards, I told my son, I'm going to make you proud. When I got, I just cried. Like I couldn't stop crying. I don't even have time to say something to myself. It's just happening. Like, you know, tears are rolling down my face. I feel so complete, because I can never really finish reading the Bible, or even if I reread it, there's still a challenge of becoming a better Christian, right? And so it's going to be a lifelong journey of being a Christian, or be Jesus-like, that it's going to keep me really busy.
I really wanted to create a segment where you really get for people to talk about their faith and their business, because that's something that you don't hear often at all. Like, it's just something where you put the Jesus at the back burner, and then you come back to him when you get in trouble, you know, type of thing. So I really wanted to have that going. But I'm so interested, you know, as I've been following your content over the years, it's like I was just so fascinated by your story. Like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, I just knew you as the businesswoman, entrepreneur. But as I began to saw, you know, some stuff on LinkedIn and you sharing your story, I was just like, wow, this is exciting. You know, it was exciting. So I want to, before we get into the business side of things, I wanted to just, for those that don't know Lynn, who is Lynn?
Are we starting already? Are we? Okay.
Yes.
So Lynn is a mother, an entrepreneur, a Jesus lover, a great friend. You know, I believe that I'm all that, you know, and in order for me to be the way I am, happy, I've learned over the years, I need to fulfill all those different roles, and it completes me, you know. And interestingly, yes, I was an atheist. I only discovered Jesus a couple of years ago, and we got baptized, you know, a year and a half ago or something like that. And I would say that was my last missing piece that I filled up. I just felt a bit empty before that. Yeah.
Wow. I think, you know, that's real fascinating. So if we're to kind of backtrack a little bit, you know, I know you've shared this before, but for my audience that's just getting to know you, you shared a lot about your background, your upbringing, and all the stuff you had to go through. Can you just share a little bit of that? Because I find that so inspiring, that you came from something like that, and then to see where you are today, it's just like, it's almost like a movie.
I'm glad that you've resonated with my story or feel like it's inspiring, because I feel like I was an example of, you know, no matter what circumstance you're in, what background you're in, you can basically dream and change your life. You know, and I didn't know anything apart from, I just had a belief in my heart that my life was destined for better. But to cut the story short, I was born in Vietnam, lived in a developing country, you know, impoverished kind of environment where I still was going to the toilet in a little hole, or bath in a little tub. You know, even though it was the 1990s, I was born in 1983, and 1990s was when I was growing up there. You know, it's foreign to a lot of my friends who are living in Australia. They're like, what? You know, I was still using pens with ink. It's almost like, you know, Vietnam at that time was way, you know, backwards compared to Australia. And when we moved to Australia, my parents got to work, you know, as new migrants. They're just so busy working that they really neglected taking care of us and being there for us. They were so stressed out. They were just working nonstop. And then that was when I got forced into working for them from the age of 10. And I didn't realize at the time. I mean, I knew it was wrong. I was upset. I cried. I tried to run away from home at 13 or 14. But yeah, basically that was child labor, forcing a young kid to work. And I ended up running away from home, ended up being a single mum at the age of 20. You know, all my fault, actually. Didn't know what I was looking for in a guy. It was kind of like I had daddy issues, right? My daddy didn't love me. My mum was harsh on me as well. And so I was seeking love in all the wrong places and got into a lot of bad relationships. And I got myself into a lot of trouble in terms of like, being such a young mum and trying to juggle motherhood and then, finishing uni. And, but, in short, I was destined, I was determined to not have my parents predict my future and be correct, because they said, oh God, you're a single mom, now you're going to be doing nothing, you're going to just some government money and be this like lazy single mom. But I proved them wrong, and from that day onwards I told my son, I'm going to make you proud. And that was when I finished uni, got a job, and eventually started my business. And me now, it's like basically a completely 180-degree turn, the person I was to the person I'm now.
Wow. I mean, you just said so much, and I wanted just to unpack a little bit of that, because I think from your story, there's so much that a lot of people can learn from. And you talk about just coming from a rough upbringing, and you talk about running away from home. When you were thinking about running away from home, like, did you have that plan out, or was this something you just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this? Like, how did that, walk me through that process of you running away from home at such a young age?
It took a while, because I mean, as a little kid, it's not even a real teenager yet. I'm talking about 13, 14 years old, something along that line. Okay, maybe 15. Okay, I'm getting a loss there, but over quite young, and nowhere to go. But the torture I felt when I came home, and the forcing to work, and no love in the family, and just always yelling, and even slapping, hitting. I think Asian parents, they just almost like tiger parents, and if they don't get their way, they just like
Wow,
and I knew it wasn't right, and I was angry, upset, and over months I was like telling myself, how do I teach them a lesson? How do I break free from that? And it took me months and months to have the courage to do it. But I warned them. I said, Mum, if you keep doing that to me, I'm going to be gone. I'm running away. And she never would believe, because it's like, where is she going to go? Little kids trying to friend the parents. But one day I did it. And I think that was the start of me knowing that if you have courage, you can do anything, and you'll work things out, that you'll figure it out, But because I was so young, they called the police. The police told me I have to go home because I'm not at the legal age to be out of home. But things didn't get better after that. It was still the same, controlling, strict parents. And that's what I ultimately ran away multiple times, and then ended up, I guess using the boyfriend at the time as a way to escape. It's like, all right, let's have a kid and let's just run away and do whatever I want to do. And that was what happened to my life.
Wow. So when you did that, and you talking about having a kid at a young age, that is something that we see quite often, that you see a lot of young girls that they didn't get the love from home, and it always ends up like that. They end up trying to find it from some guy that claims to love them, and then just to realize that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And then realizing now that you have this kid, and what are you going to do? So when you found out that you were having a kid, like, what went through your mind at that age?
I have this funny belief that I can do anything and nothing scares me. And I actually have an inability to think about the future. So when someone says you're going to have a kid, I didn't think like, oh, what is it going to be like when I have a kid? What's going to happen to my freedom? I didn't know how to think that way. I was very like short-term thinking. And I said, oh yeah, I can do it. Quite of a cocky little teenager. And my focus was just like, I want to do what I want to do. And look, my parents, when I look back, they do love me. They didn't know how to control me. And so then they were showing in a different way. But because they were so controlling and been wrong in other places, I didn't listen to them at all for anything else. So even if they were saying the right thing, like, hey, this guy's not good for you, hey, you shouldn't have a kid because your life will be, none of it went through one ear to the other, because I no longer trust you. I don't like any of the way you've taught me. And so I was probably just focused on going against them and proving them, and wanting to do the opposite to them. And so I think that's the blessing in being ignorant, is that you don't really know the consequences. So I was like, I was just have a kid. And then when I had a kid, I realized this is one of the only decision in life where once you have this decision, you're stuck with it forever. If you choose to jump off the plane for a skydive. You just do it once and you're back, right?
You're back.
But
Yeah.
having a kid is one of those permanent thing that you live with, you grow with. And I was like, wow, I need to really raise this kid here. And but without him being in my life, I would not be where I am. I would not have realized that I needed a flexible working arrangement. I wouldn't need to start a business to prove him to show that, you know, mummy can do good in her life. So there was a lot of motivation because of my kid at that age.
Wow. You know, you mentioned something about having attitude, and you know, attitude is definitely good. But you know, sometimes when people have the attitude of that I don't care attitude, now sometimes that can work for you, but also other times it can really work against you, because sometimes if you have the I don't care attitude, I can this, and then you realize like, wait a minute, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? And then you realize, so in that journey with the kid, when you realize that, man, you know, your parents, they told you this, that, and you realize that what they were saying was right, and you're in this situation now, just kind of walk me through. I know that you had the courage to accomplish anything, but when you realize that, man, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be, you know, what did you do at that point?
Yeah. There were times when I actually asked for help and try to get my parents to take me back. I was like, all right, I'm wrong. I chose the wrong guy. He's mean. He's treating me bad, and I need a place to go home. And I think looking back now, I was angry at the time, but at that time they actually put the phone down on me. They said, too bad, you got yourself in this mess, you go and fix it yourself, and hung up on me. And it was me going, oh my God, like I can't even turn to my own family, you know, like life really is all about me and up to me. And I think when your back is against the wall and you know that you can't have any help, there's no plan B, and it's all up to you, it makes you more stronger, more like, that's it, I'm determined. And you know, as much as there was times where I felt really helpless, I wanted to give up, I wanted to just throw in the towel and go, this is too hard, like I'm too young for this, I can't handle all this. But because I have a son, I had to let go of those negative thoughts. I wanted to even kill myself. I was imagining maybe if I just walk in front of a car and just die, or you know, I was even playing with a knife and trying to like cut myself. But I think it was more of a angry, like I wouldn't dare to kill myself, but I have had those thoughts, and I couldn't even distinguish between like postnatal depression because of having a baby, or is it like real, I have real things to be depressed about. But because you have a child now, it's not just you anymore. You just have to find ways to make it work. And the only thing that I could think of is just taking one day at a time. You know, I just woke up, try to do the best today, and make a, you know, and then over time, my life just got, you know, better in the right, you know, better direction. But I guess if you think too far and you think that this is the end of the world, then you probably would do something kind of stupid. But I think at the end of the day, like if it wasn't for the child being there, like I probably would choose something stupid to do.
Wow. I mean, and that's so interesting, because when people are going through hard times, you know, they're going through so many things in their minds. So what was your getaway? I know that you had a son, but oftentimes when people dealing with things like that, some people turn to something. You know, did you turn to something to kind of ease that pain, and just like, you know, like a temporary stuff that you knew, okay, this thing or those things were not good for me, but whatever, I need a temporary relief. Like, did you have a temporary relief at that time when you're going through that dark period?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I partied a lot. I don't know how, but I managed to have a kid, still like juggle my party life, because I realize now that alcohol was my way to escape, you know, going to nightclubs and just letting go and not worry about the stresses of life, you know, end up, you know, taking recreational drugs. And it would be this pattern, this cycle of like partying hard, then try to focus on taking care of the child and you know, go to school or go to work. But at the same time, I really prioritize my happiness. It's like, if I'm not going out, I'm not going to be happy. If I'm not happy, I'm not going to be there for my child. And I really needed to depend on friends or, you know, my ex's parents who are, you know, still supportive and nice to me. Over time, eventually my parents were helpful, you know, I try to help here and there as well. And so, you know, there was kind of like, that's why I feel like my child, he's 20 years old now. He's actually grown up to be a very independent son. And I
Wow.
think, he didn't grow up in a stable home where everything was smooth. He kind of was thrown around different places, and
Yeah.
and I remember when I used to say goodbye to him to go out, he just had this understanding for me, as if he's like, okay, bye, mum, like as if he wants
Wow.
me, but he knows to let me go,
Yeah.
and I just know that he understood that his mum was a teenage mum. And so I'm blessed now looking back. It's like, I don't know how to parent. I just did the best I can, but I wanted to make sure, I'm happy. I put the mask on me first, making
Yeah.
sure that that I feel like I'm satisfied somewhere, so that I can be there for my son.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I think that's so interesting because, you talk about putting a mask on for a little while, and, you're going out there, you're partying, but yet, you're hurting inside, you're
Mm.
going through all these different emotions. And, a lot of times when people are going through things, they'll put this facade on like, hey, things are going great. Like they'll
Mm.
do this stuff, and you talk about using alcohol as a way for you. Now, is that what drew you to alcohol? Why wasn't it something else? Like, what was it about alcohol that made you feel like you gravitated towards that?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up in Australia and in most places, alcohol is just part of life. It's the culture. It's what you grew up knowing. I drank even before I turned 18, and it was like, oh, wow, I could actually just forget about anything and everything. And there are times with alcohol, it also brought the aggression out of me, that I wanted to just even take it out on other people, having a fight, and getting that rage out. It was a
Yeah.
way to just be whatever I want to be at that time. And yeah, it's just accessible. It's something that socially acceptable. So then you just drink. And I think I decided to quit alcohol only 6 months ago. So it's been 25 years of drinking, and now that I'm on this journey of sobriety, I realize that it's a bigger problem than you ever realize. It's a
Mm.
bigger addiction than most people want to admit,
Wow.
and even as I became a mother again and had two kids, a businesswoman, I was still sucked in back into that drinking life. Here
Yeah.
and there, I would drunk again, and the thought of never drinking again would scare me. And I realized I'm addicted. I might not drink
Wow.
every day, and have a bottle next to my bed, and like in the movies where the person's alcoholic and starts bashing their partner. It
Yeah.
might not look like that, but it's
Yes.
still pretty bad when you drink regularly and you don't really want to drink anymore. It's bad for you, but you still drink.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's addiction. That's something too that a lot of people deal with, a different type of addiction. And there's some people that like you said, you realize that now that it's a bigger problem than you knew back then. And there are a lot of people that they don't see that as much of a thing. But then it's like
Hmm.
once you get on the other side, it's like, wow, I really wasted so much time doing something
Hmm.
like that was destroying me. Now, I want to dig into like what do you think has been your darkest moments? If you had to say, wow, this is like my darkest, if you had to think of a particular day or a time when you're like,
Yeah.
man, this day, I will never forget this particular day or this particular event. What is that thing for you?
Yeah. Even though I had a lot of dark moments, the one turning point that made me go, oh my God, like I'm hurting here and I need help, was when I had a boyfriend just before I met my husband. And I was so in love with him. And I think even though I've had a lot of relationships, and even, I have my son's dad, whatever other relationship, I was always the one with the upper hand. I'm the one that's like, nah, you're bad to me, I'm going to leave you. But there
Mm.
was one relationship where I was out of control, meaning it was up to him. Even though we were fighting, it wasn't a healthy relationship. It was at the end, it was him that chose to move on and basically like stuff you,
Yeah.
and even dating someone else. And it was the first time my heart was broken, where I was like, oh, it was like grieving for a death, like someone died and you can't get him back.
Yeah.
And because of that, like desperation, I was in the most, bottom, pit. I was just like desperate. Like, well, how do I get out of this? How do I get this person back? How did my life get to this point? And that was when I felt like it was like the first time I reflected on myself. It was like, oh my God, Lynn, so this was like maybe 27, 28 years old. It was only then did I have a kind of like a pause, I break, and I went, whoa, what has happened all these years? At this point, my kid is 8 years old. I've dated so many relationships. I've been drinking all these years. Life is full of drama, and what's going on? And I realized maybe it's me. It was the first time I pointed to myself. I said, it's the common denominator is me. And oh my God, like I need to change. It's not about all these bad guys that I should stop dating. It's like, why am I even attracting these people? And that was the first time I also felt like I'm no longer this cocky girl. It was like, God, help me. Like, whoever you are. I don't even believe in God at that time. I was raised as my family's Buddhist, but we're not really a practicing kind of Buddhist. I went to Catholic schools all my life because it was just a good school, but I never believed in any of it. It was like, it just sounded like a legend, like some sort of good story that if you follow it, you'll be good people.
Yeah.
But at that point, I actually said, God, help me. And it's not like he came down and said, all right, hallelujah, your life is going to change. But I did feel like from that turning point, I started to be more open to like, help, whatever, I no longer trust myself. I'm going to just take whatever I learn and whatever I'm exposed to and start changing my life. And then that was when within a year, my whole life changed because I was exposed to personal development, learned to not, blame others and take ownership of my own life, started to relearn about dreams and vision board that, you can actually change your whole life around, that there is some spiritual side to life. And within a year, I manifested a new boyfriend, ended up getting married in 8 months. I ended up moving to a house that I had on my vision board. It was like, oh, wow, God is real. There is this higher power that is working when you are ready to listen and when you humble yourself and admit that you have not been right. Yeah.
It's something interesting when you said that's key. When you have that moment, when that like an epiphany, like, wait a minute, I've been blaming everybody else. And there's certain people, they will blame other people for all the things that's going wrong in their lives. You did this to me, you did that, you said this. And to have that light bulb moment to just say, you know what? I'm the common denominator. I'm the person that needs to change. Now, from the time that you realize that, I want you to walk people through the process of, okay, you went through, of course, you talk about the vision board and all those things, but the day that you realize, did you sit down and start to write things down? Or when you had that light bulb moment, for some people, they just pause for a few days just to process everything. Some people go do different things. What was your process when you finally realized that, you know what? I'm the problem. I want you to walk me through the first few days of when you realized that moment, that life-changing moment for you. What did you do then?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of Google researching and sorry, let me just, I have a phone vibrating. You might want to cut this video. Okay. You'll be editing. Yeah. Just the phone's vibrating. Basically a lot of Google researching, like, okay, I'm the problem. Okay. And then it was almost like searching for these statements. It's like how to not blame others, how to take ownership. It was kind of like just researching and digging into, the different questions I have about life and about myself, about like relationships. And I started to read on books about I started to become more curious about the problem that I'm facing, about like, what am I really going through? And then it led me into discovering a course called the life coaching course. Okay. And at that time I thought, you know what, I just started an e-commerce business. I had no idea much about business at that time, and it wasn't going really well either. And I'm still exploring how else can I make money. And this life coaching seems like a really cool thing. It's like helping others. And when I did that course, I was mind blown from the teachings that it taught me about our thoughts, about our mindset, about the way life works. Up till then, I actually just thought that we all have eyes, we see the same thing. We all have ears, we hear the same thing. I didn't know that our reality is different. And so that course was quite, tremendously effective, because it was like the full 10 weeks course or something on personal development or on your psychology. And then that really accelerated my learning about myself and about the world. And and the more I learned, the more I was addicted to learning. And there was the first time I
Wow.
even heard about Tony Robbins. Never heard of
Yeah.
him before, and I loved Oprah, but I started to read up on Oprah's, some of her teachings around gratitude. And then I started practicing gratitude, just writing down 3 things I'm grateful for. And it was a struggle at the beginning. It's like, I literally have nothing to be grateful for. My life is horrible right now. But
Yeah.
then I just trusted in the process. Okay, if they've got all the success and I don't, let's just trust it. So I started writing down simple things like the weather's good, that I have a son, that he's healthy.
Yeah.
And from then, that, keeping a journal and counting my blessing really just started to change my life. I just felt I felt good about myself. And when you're good and you're grateful, more great things come.
You mentioned something that most people never really give a thought. A few years ago, I had a conversation with this man. He was about 52 years old. So I asked him a question. We were just talking. He came to do some work at my house and in a conversation. And I asked him a question. I said, so what is your legacy? He looked at me. He said, oh, legacy. What's that? And that just struck me because I'm like, a 52-year-old man with kids and grandkids had no clue what a legacy is, which just kind of piggyback when you talk about a vision board. Now, can you just, for those that don't know what a vision board is and the importance of it, what is a vision board and why is it so important to have one?
Yeah. The first time I heard about kind of manifestation and achieving whatever you dream of was a story about Jim Carrey when he put a check up, I don't know, whether it was $100,000 or something, and then eventually 25 million, something, a crazy amount on his wall. And, years later, he manifested it and he got a movie that was about that amount. And so I did exactly that. I started putting a check and put it on my wall. And yeah, what a vision board is like, what is your dream? What do you want to achieve in the future? And have it, visibly where you can see it and feel it, and not just like, oh yeah, I'll put it here as if I'm going to get it. No, really believe it. Like, just have faith that it's in the works. It's there, but it's just not physically, there yet. And so I remember even my mum walking into my room. So at that time, when I started my business, I also had to move back home. And she walked in the room and said, what's that on your wall? Like, what do you have this check on there? Or what's this house? And I said, oh, I just cut out some house from the brochure in the mail. And then she's like, how are you going to get that? I'll go, I don't know. I will. I don't know. Just as the same as when I wrote down, oh, I'm so grateful that my boyfriend is so amazing. I wrote it as if it's happened. And that was my learning from Tony Robbins. But now that I think back, it was all in the Bible. The Bible had it all in there about, whatever you want, you dream it as if it's already there. And then eventually it happens. It happens without you controlling it. It happens without you knowing how. And that is the power of the vision board. And I feel like a lot of times people are too afraid to even put in a vision because they don't believe that they're going to have it. Or even if they did it, they it's like they have it, they believe that it happens for others, but deep down they're like, how's it going to happen for me? And I think there's lots of ways for people to sabotage it.
Yeah, vision board is something that I've even had one. The crazy thing is the car that I have now, I remember saying that, I had a similar car like that before, but then got a different one. I'm like, you know what? I saw this car one time a while ago. I'm like, you know what? I like this car. And I took a picture of it and I put it on my phone. And I'm like, this is what I want to get, this is what I want to get. And it's so amazing because you attract what you believe in. People don't realize that you really do attract what you believe in. And if you believe that you're nothing, you're always going to be nothing. If you don't believe anything is going to happen. So you talk about faith and having the ability to have faith in things that you don't even see possible. When your mom looked at your vision board and said, how are you going to get that house? And you're like, I don't know, but I'm going to get it. Right. And I think that's one of the things about being an entrepreneur, that you just have to go after it. Right. You have to go after it. So what are some of the lessons? Right. And I want to dive into your conversion, in terms of before Jesus. Matter of fact, how did you get to talk about your conversion? Like, from how did you hear about Jesus and how did you become a Christian and that whole journey?
Yeah. Yes. so when I started learning about vision boards and manifestation, it was a taste into spirituality. And I felt like, oh my God, the world works in a miraculous way. It's not just this physical world. But after a few years, I can't remember how many years, but like a chunk of years where I felt still spiritually hungry, I felt like, so what, I'm manifesting all these material things, why is it I still feel a sense of emptiness? Sure, I love helping people and I love what money can do for others, but it was like, I want more, like teach me more.
Yeah.
But every book that I would open up, it's the same thing. It's like, what do you want in your life? How do you manifest the dreams and more things for yourself? And I no longer felt like more material things was going to make me happy. I just knew that was something missing.
Yeah.
So one day, I think early 2020, I stumbled across a video on YouTube, Pastor Vlad from Hungry Generation, a Washington, US guy, right? And I think I was searching, I think I was going through, different time in business. In business, it's always up, down. And I think at that time it was one of those downtime. And I must have researched a topic called around like things get worse before they get better or something. It was just like a slogan. And then there was a video that talked about that. And the guy happened to be a pastor. But when he explained it, it wasn't like a priest where it was boring. It was like, the way he articulated, it made me understand the concept about life. But also he referenced the Bible, verses from the Bible. And that was when my light bulb moment went like, maybe everything has been in the Bible.
Yeah.
Maybe what I need to do is go to find a church like his church, something that's a bit more fun and not like a Catholic church that I'm familiar with. And so I got myself to Hillsong. I went on my own, and because that's the only one that I knew at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I just cried. Like I couldn't stop crying. I don't even have time to say something to myself. It's just happening. Like, tears are rolling down my face. It's the worship songs. It's the community, everyone around, and believing in the same thing, believing in that there's we're not living in a physical world. There's a spiritual side. And so I just felt at home, it's the same slogan for Hillsong, which is welcome home. I felt like I was at home. And that's it. That was that moment when I was like, I want to know more about Jesus. I want to know more. And everything started to make sense. I believed every word that was spoken to me. And I read the Bible, or I keep listening to more sermons. And then the more I learned, the more I became a better Christian, like understanding about money, understanding that, we're just stewards of money and we live in a temporary world and it's everyone's children. It started to make a lot more sense. So then now I'd say that I feel so complete because I can never really finish reading the Bible, or even if I reread it, there's still a challenge of becoming a better Christian, right? And so it's going to be a lifelong journey of being a Christian or be Jesus-like, that it's going to keep me really busy.
Wow. You mentioned so much to unpack there. One key word you said was satisfaction. We live in the world where people think that the more successful you become, the happier you become. If I can just make this amount of money, if we have this if mindset, if I can just make this money, if I can just move in this location, if. But from what you're saying, you realize that there is still that void in there. That void, that there's something, it has to be more than just making money. It has to be more than just doing this. And there are a lot of people that are going to watch and listen to this that's just saying, you know what, I'm filling that void. For a person that's in your situation and they're filling that void, they wanted to get the more money. They got the money, but still have that void. They wanted to get the house. They got the house. They get all those things. What would you say to a young woman right now that's in your situation that, maybe they used to be a single mom before, they're trying to figure things out, but they have that void. They're trying to get this relationship. It's not filling it. Sex doesn't fill it. Alcohol doesn't fill it. Something is there. What message would you have for them?
Yeah, I think it's about being open-minded to, wanting to know more about God. Like, I wish I knew about God. I wish I was open-minded, and I think that once you know God, you can still have goals and dreams and want to be successful and rich, but you do it in a most graceful way. You're at peace. you trust in God, you know that you don't have, it's all about you, you know. So if before I knew God, I was hustling, but I was hustling in a hurry. Like I was like, you know, eager to get that dream and doing it in a way that wasn't graceful. Like I might be helping people, but deep down it's like maybe I was still trying to get more out of life, you know, like, okay, I'm going to do this so I can have good karma. It's all about me, me, me. But once you understand the message that God's giving us and that to love his children and he'll take care of everything, I don't care even if I give 10 times more to one person and even if that person can't give to me, it doesn't matter. Like I just feel so at peace and I know that there's better things for me in heaven. God will always take care of me in other ways. And it's that peace that is the best, you know. And knowing what I know now, I've met so many rich people way more richer than me. They still have a lack mentality. They still feel like, you know, if I give it all away, I won't have enough. Oh, I'm going to hoard it all for my children. And they don't see the bigger picture, you know, or they don't realize that it's not going to make you happy, you know, turn to God, you know. And so whether or not you have $10, you have $1 million or $10 million, we're all on the same journey. If we could find that fulfillment through knowing God, I think we will be a lot more happier no matter, you know, what stage in life we're at.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned something about the me mindset. You know, we live in a society now where, especially a lot of women, they have this, you know, this boss chick mindset where forget everybody else. I want to do me. It's all about me. I don't care what anyone else think. I just want to focus on me. And I think that's a mindset that can be very destructive because generation, like you mentioned, there are a lot of wealthy people that the reason why their wealth lasts is because they think in generations. It's not just about what I need from me. So we have so many people today that they're thinking about, let me just meet my needs. Let me take care of me. Let me just, it's me, 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 me. But then you realize that generations later, the same struggle that they face, their children are facing that, their grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, that whole thing. So I want you for in terms of generational mindset, I think that's a key thing that you mentioned, to make sure that when your time on this earth is done, that your son, your kids, you know, have kids now, have something for them. You know, so it's not just so much about me. And I bring that up because you mentioned about, you know, the me and balancing is a key thing. And I just want to unpack for us, you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, you got so much going on. How do you balance everything to know that, okay, I'm balancing being the mother, being the wife, being the businesswoman, how do you balance everything?
Yeah. Number one is to acknowledge and realize that you do need to have all the different areas in life to make you fulfilled and to give back to the different areas that are important to you. And when you do, then you prioritize. Like I schedule it in, you know, my travel time, my fun time is just as important as my work time. So it's all scheduled in, it's booked in, and I spend time, you know, planning it as much as I go and plan, you know, the goals for my business. I make time for my health. I make time for my personal care. I make time for my husband. Anything that you want success in, you need to put time in it. And so how do you do it all is making sure it's important to you. You know, people say, I know health is important, but they don't make time for it. Oh, I'm too busy for that. Well, it must not be important. And I don't want to take anything for granted because God, you know, God or life has a way of teaching you lessons. You know, if you're ungrateful about something and you don't put effort in something, you'll lose it. And I know what it's like to lose something that you really want, or you know, when you're being ungrateful, there is that karma or regret that you're going to experience. And so I should always make sure that I try my best, you know. And one of the message I always encourage people is to celebrate life because we don't know how long we have. And I'm not talking about you know, thinking you're young and then, you know, you've got more years to come. It's like you don't even know your own life. And also even your family, right? A lot of them might be older, your parents or your grandparents. It's like they also have a short amount of time. So be considerate of that and go, how do I make time for my loved ones and be there for them? And so, yeah, just don't take anything for granted. Because I don't take anything for granted and I fear regrets, I make sure I allocate time for everything. And I think without having a team, like in business, I wouldn't be able to achieve everything as well. Even at home, instead of saving the money, I use it on a cleaner. I use it on a gardener. I don't think it's a waste. I think it's sharing wealth. The money I make, I invest in these people who give me back time and happiness, energy, because they do what I don't want to do. And then we're making this world a better place.
I think those very definitely important points there. Because all those are philosophies, that the principles that you mentioned, that you've gone from the Bible, and when you converted to Christianity, what was that day like for you when you accepted the Lord and you went through that process? Like, what was that feeling like to you? You talked about the change. I'm just curious, like, what was that feeling like to go from dealing with all those things and then to feel like, wow, the weight of the world is no longer on your shoulders? Just kind of unpack that for me.
Yeah, it's so liberating. I think it just feels like you just have to follow the Bible and the guidance in there. It's all written for us to follow. It's like over the weekend, I got mad at someone, and in that moment, I had two choices: go with Lynn's way, which is like, confront them, give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah.
Or hang on, I know what's better for me. I know what God has taught me is to be a good Christian. And so I was able to kind of like, okay, breathe. How do I become a better Christian? Okay, I need to go and deal with it maturely. I go and spoke to someone, learned to like breathe it out, not confront it, and trust that God will have his own way to, judge or to give lessons to people. It's not all up to me. And I had the best outcome. Like I ended up not being angry anymore, and there's peace. And then I just realized in life that, back before I knew God, I felt like I had to do everything. I had to, tell people how I feel. I need to confront everything. I need to fix everything. But what I've learned is that our Father, God, is there. He will have his own way of dealing with things. And you don't have to fix it. You just have to focus on yourself and be, a great person, to be a great example to others, and that's it. Leave it to him. And it's the same principle in business now. Back then, I would be like, "Oh my God, there's a fire. I need to fix it," and da da da. Whereas now, I kind of go, I pray on it. I actually write down, God, this is what I want to pray for. Sit and relax. Because what's the point of worrying? I think there's verses in the Bible, but there's no need to worry. Tomorrow has its own worries or something like that. Yeah. And so then sleep it off. Next day, something happened. Someone comes up with a solution. Just some random things that would just happen. And when you continuously witness things unfolding and everything works out in its own way, your trust increases, and you continue to trust in the whole process and don't worry as much. At the beginning, you might worry more because you're not used to it, but then you learn to trust, and then that's how life becomes a lot more peaceful.
Yeah, peace. I know we could definitely use a lot of peace. I was just telling someone that, I would rather be alone and have peace than be somewhere that you have no peace. It's drama, it's wars, it's just, oh my goodness, just so much going on. Because it's like the older you get, the more you enjoy your serenity, the more you enjoy that peace, the more you just want to, just the littlest things make you happy. You don't need so much anymore, when you're grateful. And I think there's something that helps in business a lot. And I want to talk now about your business, Outsourcing Angel. I remember when you had this idea and you wanted to kind of go back and forth with it. And so what was it outsourcing what attracted you to do outsourcing?
Yeah. I stumbled across the opportunity to outsource, and I fell in love with it because I realized that it was my way to be able to give back to people around the world, people in developing countries, people, in Europe and just anywhere. And, I was born in Vietnam, and I know what it's like to live in a place with limited opportunities. Yes. And so I think that was my connection with it. It's like, okay, businesses need to outsource so that they could free up their time and build wealth and be able to be there for their family. And in order for them to do that, they need people's help, and then it's cost effective. And then at the same time, I'm creating opportunities for people, in globally. And so that's why stuck it through. Like I did go through a lot of challenges, outsourcing, not knowing who to hire, being ripped off, and had my fair share of outsourcing pitfalls. But through it all, I just knew that this is a really great way to give back to the world, or kind of like a virtuous cycle, right? Business gets helped, people get freedom. And what I love about my model is that I outsource to people that get to work from home. So I too have a remote business working from home, never built myself another office. Even if my business grew, it was like, I do not want to be in a corporate environment. And so I make sure that anyone we work with also get to have that kind of flexibility, because I guess I was a single mum. And so I understand how important it is to have your work to be flexible so you can, be there for your family. And so that's what draws virtual assistants who we work with a lot in the Philippines. They're drawn to it because they had to quit their 9-to-5 job to pursue something that allows them to have a better life for their family. And so we want to make sure we create freedom for businesses, but as well as freedom for the people we work with.
So I noticed you have most of your team. I know you have different, but from what I understand, most of them from the Philippines, correct? So how did you end up choosing, deciding to go with people from the Philippines, and how did you come up to that? Like, okay, well, I want to get more from that area. Why not? Most people go to India or different places. Why the Philippines?
Yeah, and especially I'm Vietnamese as well. People go, why don't you help Vietnamese people? I think it's just, I believe that we're all children of God, no matter where we're at, right? Whether Vietnamese or Philippines. And I had the opportunity to work with Filipino, and they were just, I guess, there was a sweet spot with them in terms of location, amazing English, amazing skill set and experience in the digital marketing space. And it was easier to build an infrastructure around that country than to, jump around different countries. So like, for example, when we worked with someone from Nepal, I said to him, hey, can you work with me full time? How much would you like to earn as a full time? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't even know what to pay you either. All right, let me search up, what is the best salary in Nepal. I'm like, what does a doctor get paid? And then I had to figure out what's the salary for him, right? And then every country will have its own salary, its own culture. And so it was just easier to stick with one and work with them. Although my internal team, we've still kept people from Indonesia, Ukraine and all that. Back in the days when I had a marketing agency, it didn't matter where I outsourced to, as long as they're good and I've negotiated the pay. But when clients want to work with staff, it's easier for us to know exactly what the culture is, who it is, the pay, so that it just makes the business become more systemized.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that makes a lot of sense. So what type of services do you guys offer for those that are wondering, outsourcing? Is it just one thing? What are the different areas that you guys focus on?
Yeah, so we focus a lot on marketing and operations. So when I say operations, it means kind of like we always look at the client's business, the client experience or the workflow. Okay, what's happening? How are you getting clients in? How are you collecting money? How are you delivering the services? And we look for opportunities to, increase efficiency. So it might not just be straight away a person that we recommend. We go, hey, have you thought about using this CRM, integrate it with this other communication tool, or have you used a project management tool before? Because you're using emails and it's like waste of time. And so we start to look at the systems and try to automate, and then we'll also try to systemize it better, right? Before we go and put in the people. So it's really about the three areas: technology, processes, and people. And with the people, it's really about hiring. They tell us, okay, I want someone that can help me with social media. We find them already skilled and experienced in that area. And then we also act as their HR department, managing the staff for them so that they don't have to worry about like, how do I keep them happy? How do I make sure that they're engaged? It's like we take care of all that.
Wow. I think that's that's amazing, in terms of being able to put stuff like that together. So how many people do you have in your team?
Yeah. So internally we have over 20, about 23. And then we have about 70 virtual assistants that work for clients. They are either doing part-time or full-time work which is like 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week. And so, yeah, the whole, so it's almost like up to 100 people that we manage, and it's completely remote. When people say, it's hard to build culture when it's remote, or like, I don't feel like I can connect with my team. No, it's all of a myth. We have one of the best culture in our company because we learned how to do everything virtually. Over 10 years of experience in remote working, we can still have as much fun. We can still have as much engagement, just as a corporation or people that work in an office.
Yeah, I think, and I noticed that you're very involved with your team, and I see sometimes you post out, went to someone's wedding, and you just different activities that's going on. I think that's so important in terms of working with people. So what are the qualities if someone wanted to, let's say for an employee, if they wanted to work for your company, what do you look for?
For our company personally,
Yes.
we have 4 values. So we want people who, fit these values, which is appreciation. We love people that are grateful for their job, grateful for the opportunity, and coming from a place of appreciation, they will end up being loving, giving to others, right? And then we also want people who have courage to try new things, not afraid of making mistakes, and, exploring new technology and embracing changes. And then we also want people who are consistent, meaning reliable, not 1 minute want to work hard, next minute like lazy or whatever it is. It's like, we want that the same consistency in your attitude, in your delivery. And then finally, transparency. We're big on communication. If anything, we would adapt and be compromising and compassionate in anything, as long as you communicate. You just tell us what's going on with your life. We treat each other more as friends, not just workers. And so if we just satisfy those 4 areas, then I feel like they can work long term with us, because technical skills can always be taught, but it's the values that are most important. And often we, the people who don't last with us, at the end of the day, lacks one of those value. They might be so excited working for us, but then all of a sudden realize that they want money more, and they don't appreciate the environment, the culture that we've got, and they chase the money. Then, that's when it doesn't work. Or if they, are inconsistent in their work, then basically that's when we can just see that, things aren't working.
Yeah. And I think those are really good principles to have. And like you said, it's just also based on the word of God, the Bible, that makes things a lot easier. In terms of what's up next for you, 5 years from now, where do you see the company? What's your vision for the next phase of your company?
Yeah. We see ourselves as we sell freedom. So I'm really open to seeing what does that freedom look like. We started off as a virtual assistant agency, but now we're evolving into business automation and systemizing. And so really what we want to see is like we continue to pivot and innovate and, leverage AI and become just smarter and better at creating freedom for business owners. Our goal is really to help business owners to be able to step away from the day-to-day running of their business, to actually have that freedom so that they can spend quality time with their family and friends. And I'm a living proof of that. I built up my business so that it could run without me, and I want that for other people. And for me, I want to spend more time giving back. I'm at that stage in the last few years in that position where I can mentor and I can share my wisdom through my videos and podcasts. I want to continue to do that more, and maybe creating more charity experiences and bring our clients and others who might want to go to the Philippines and actually experience giving back more. So I see ourselves as more of a freedom fighter, a freedom achiever, and then and that's at the same time, how do we inspire and give back more?
And I think all those are really, really awesome points there. And you mentioned AI. I'm a big fan of AI in terms of using it the right way, because it can be used, on the wrong way. We've seen that all the time, people using AI for something crazy. But I've been using AI now for a while, and it's incredible. So how do you use AI for your business or for your clients? How do you use AI to help take their business to the next level?
Yeah, AI is just growing so quickly. There's so many tools out there, and we're trying to learn as quick as we can and utilize, some of the tools and not everything. And so, like, even when it comes to making videos, it's really shortcut a lot of our editing time. With tools like Opus.pro can just cut snippets so quickly. Even a non-editor can actually use a tool like that.
Yeah.
And, ChatGPT, most of our team use that for writing. Like, I used to suck at writing or hated the writing part, right? And then now I kind of write down some thoughts and let it do most of the work and then just edit it. And so I really feel like it's just empowering. But I think it's really important right now. Our challenge is trying to navigate through AI, and it's so noisy. There's so much to do. It's like, how do we, use it best? And so we're still going through that at this moment. Like, I think most, business owners, right? And we know how powerful AI is, but we're just navigating it. And but at the end of the day, we always want to make sure that don't overwhelm yourself. When it comes to our clients, we always look at their existing processes. Okay, what are you trying to do? Let's improve on that process. It might not be a new tool. It might just really be a simple automation that can do this or that and just increase the efficiency in that little area. There's always room for like new tools and new AI, but it's just more money, more time. And so it's about what is the lowest hanging fruit, and how can we just improve on small things at a time.
Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely growing. There's so much that we're still learning about it. Even just me from using it and, trying to develop things with it. It's amazing. But like you said, you can't get so overwhelmed with it because it's a lot. It's a whole lot to learn, a lot to do. Now, for the clients, like, who's your typical client? If someone is looking at you, watching this and saying, okay, they do all this virtual stuff, but do I fit in with them? What does your typical client look like?
Yeah, our typical clients are small to medium-sized businesses that are looking to scale their operations or marketing. And so we work with clients in various industries, but the area of expertise is really marketing and kind of like the admin side of thing. Usually people with a few full-time staff already, and they're just looking to scale more, because I feel like that's when you need to automate and create systems, right? So sometimes when you're too early in the game, the goal is to just make sales, really. Just make sales. Don't worry about like fancy tools, just use Excel for now, right? And once you've got that the scalability, you've got the sales coming through, and you've got some staff, but you just need to take it to the next level. That's when we can come in. We go and optimize and hire more staff faster for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's because sometimes, people doing business and they're trying to get every type of client out there. They don't care who, what, the quality. And I noticed from watching you guys, there's a certain, in business, there's a certain grade of client that you want, right? You just have to you kind of, sift it out. And I think that's so important. And now when you look at your life, if you had to just sum it up at this stage in your life, how would you sum up your life right now?
I feel like my life is, I feel fulfilled. I feel like I've gone through all the challenges so that I could have the experience that I could share, that I can inspire people. Everything happened for a reason, and I could just feel like I'm also relieved to know that I'm at a place where I've gone through all the tribulations and problems in life. And what I've learned about life is that you either seek challenges and proactively look for troubles to fix, and then you learn lessons that way, or else it will come to you. You will eventually learn things. And so there's people who are going through tribulations and challenges at a later stage, 40s, 50s, and I've experienced that when I was at a young age. So I feel really grateful. I feel like I'm at a place where it's time to just give back, to share my experiences, to teach everything that I've learned about life. And any year that I could live in this world is really just a bonus. I feel really, really blessed and fulfilled.
Man, that is powerful. That is so powerful to be able to be at that point in your life. And then finally, I just, if you wouldn't mind, there are people that are going to watch this, and people are always looking for prayer. They're always going through just discouraged. And I know that a lot of people that are going to watch this, they're going to be inspired by you. And I really do believe in the power of prayer, that anytime that you overcome something, you reach out, like you said, it's all about giving back, and prayer is just all about giving back. So if you wouldn't mind, if you would just take just a moment and just to pray for those out there, because right now there's so many people that are trying to figure things out, single moms that are going through this, married couples that are trying to figure this out in business, and you've attained a certain level of success. If you would mind, just take a few moments to just pray for those that are looking for, or they're where you used to be, and they're trying to get to the next level. If you don't mind, if you can just do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, yeah, I want to say, dear God, I pray for those who are listening. Whatever you're going through, God's got your back. Please just trust in God's process, that, there's better things to come, and just listen to my story, replay, and remember that everything happens for a reason, and enjoy the process, and know that God has better things waiting for you. And if I can do it, you can do it. And yeah, I just pray that I could be your inspiration. And if there's anything I can do, please reach out, comment, and yeah, me or Matthew will be there to help you. Yeah.